Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 273. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook. With us tonight we have Masataki Wasa. Masataki is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's based in the UK, can be found in Wimbledon, and he's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. Micah Fisher-Kirshner is based in the USA. He's on the West Coast, pretty close to Silicon Valley. He is a regular on the public speaking circuit. He's head of SEO for Turn River Capital. Richard Hearn is CEO of Red Cardinal Limited, and I think it's Red Cardinal Limited, isn't it, Richard? Yes. He's based in Ireland and Phuket in Thailand, and he is a troubleshooter for upper echelon sites. Rob Mars is an AdWords aficionado. He's based in the Netherlands. Rob is also a Google top contributor on the web search and AdWords team. No, I got it wrong. I always get it wrong. Sorry. Sash Meyer is, Rob is on Google Webmasters, as is Sash Meyer, also on Google Webmasters. Sash is a top contributor there. He's a disaster recovery specialist, and he is currently based in the USA, but he could turn up anywhere. And Tim Capper. Tim is CEO of onlineownership.com. He lives in Corby, about 100 miles north of London, and he is a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. All right. Okay, let's get on to our first question. Lauren Miller. Lauren said, I have an e-commerce website and one product is listed in two categories, like category 1, product 1, and the same product in a different category, like category 2, product 1. And both categories are relevant for that product. So my question is it okay for SEO or should I change it? Please suggest.
What the hell? If nobody else will speak, I will. If the product is actually relevant for both categories, then leave it there, because your customer, if anything, it's going to have an absolutely minimal effect on the actual SEO side of things, if any. But from the customer's point of view, if it's relevant in both categories, then they're going to have an easier job finding what they're looking for. My 2 cents.
This is a perfect scenario for canonicalization as well, because she can still keep it in both categories and she can canonicalize one product over to the other product URL. And users can still get to both from the nav, and Google should canonicalize any signals to the one product.
Thank you, Sash. Thank you, Richard. Anybody else? All right. Okay. All right, let's scoot to the next one. Lauren, I hope you found that useful. And this one from Countess Andrea von Eugen. Eugen.
Eugen.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Seth. This one's titled A Variation Between HTTP and HTTPS. She said, why am I seeing differing links? Hi all, using WordPress and using a backlink tool, I noticed a variation between the HTTP and the HTTPS. Does this mean I haven't done the redirects correctly? Many thanks.
Need to know which backlink tool, really, to be honest, to give any comment.
Well, let's take a chance and imagine that she's using SEMrush.
You have to assume that they're probably not as good at canonicalizing links as something as big as Google. So it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with what she's done.
In our search console first and see what's indexed and where Google is giving her the information. So she should verify HTTP and HTTPS and then see what Google tells her.
And also, depending on the...
Am I mute?
There we go. Also, depending on the backlink tool, a lot of times the difference between having an HTTP and HTTPS is just to give you the information of where the links are going, so that if you haven't actually did that, then you'll be able to see kind of any potential issues that might come up, or if you're not properly kind of marketing the secure and non-secure version.
Thank you, Micah. Anybody else? All right, let's move on to the next. We have 20 questions on our run list today. Sandra Salm Mabatha asks, can articles created with spinners or spun content hurt your SEO and Google ranking?
Yes.
Yep, we've got a nod and a yes. Okay. All right, let's.
What the hell? Let me throw a couple of sentences on top of that. They will. First of all, there's not a decent spinner tool out there. Yeah, spun content is so easily detected. It's actually ridiculous. Why would you even want to do it? Why would you waste the time and effort on something like that? Because it's going to come back and bite you. There's no question about it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, Google has had spinner detectors, what, 6 years, 8 years? I can remember spun content on the Google Webmaster Forum in 2010, 2011. They were getting stung.
Totally. And I mean, now with all their focus on machine learning and AI and whatnot, it's just becoming more sophisticated, not less.
And I'll put on my AdSense hat and say, don't monetize it, because, you know, that means your account will be gone quite soon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Masataki. All right, let me tweet that and we will move on. This one from Brian Michael, 2 schemas on one site. Brian said, I'm working with a client who is a capital lending group. I noticed they have organization schema in addition to real estate agent schema on their site. Is this a conflict? They do help buy and sell properties, but they aren't realtors per se. Thanks in advance. So you on the Facebook group, Richard said no, that should be fine.
No problem with that. It's quite normal because there's certain things that you can actually add in under organization. Some of the properties that you can add under organization may apply to you, but you wouldn't be able to add them under real estate agent anyway. So it's quite normal. You could have multiple schemas and schemas for everything. You could have a schema for everything on your page. Be no problem with it.
Okay.
Unless it conflicts in some way, and that shouldn't conflict. Real estate agent and organization, no problem.
Okay, let's move on to the next. This one from Toka Janelides. Toka said, or it's a question titled "Spammy Comments, Backlinks from 25 Domains." Toka said, on my new website, one of my pages received 2,472 spammy comments backlinks from 25 domains. Not done by me. What should I do? Simply removing that page, will that avoid a penalty? P.S. I know about the Google Disavow tool, but it's slow and doesn't help in most cases.
Yeah, just removing the page can be sufficient. So if you want to get that out of the way and real quickly, that's one way. Now, that's only kind of a temporary thing, especially if you haven't put in any moderation for those. Oh, that's comment backlinks. Sorry, I was thinking of this comment span. Misread that. My apologies. Yeah, well, even then, you should be able to with just kind of removing as 410, 404. But it's depending on where that's coming from and what's going on. If it's just to a single page, and it's very common to see a lot of like comment spam leaks, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. I know there might be a bit of some disagreements, but if it's a page and you feel like it's not worthwhile to take any of the what you might think is a risk, then it's a low value page. You can remove it. It's easy enough.
I'm actually finding it very interesting that the page itself isn't important enough to save, because that to me says something about the overall quality. Right? It's if you've got anything with commenting enabled, you need to have decent housekeeping in place. You know, there's these days comment spam filters and comment defenders and whatnot they're fairly common, and they're actually reasonably capable.
So I think he means the backlinks are comment spam.
Okay.
Not that he had that. Yeah, I misread that originally too.
Comment backlinks. What are we talking about?
I think he's saying that he's getting back comment spammer.
Oh, a comment spammer elsewhere.
Yes,
yeah.
All right. Okay.
That's why he can remove the page, and yeah, it takes away the problem. But that's not really that doesn't scale very well, because if someone wants to target him, like, and he has to remove his pages all the time, that's not going to do him any good. So, you know, it's a difficult one. Oh, the other thing is, like, I thought Google doesn't penalize for this stuff anymore. I thought it just ignored.
Yes. I guess if we're talking about wholesale inbound links, if you don't want to kill the page, change the URL. Don't 301, let it be re-indexed. It's a clumsy solution. It's not ideal, but that's one way of doing it.
You should just use the disavow and be over with it if it works. What do you think, Jim?
I don't think it works.
Oh, Jim was right on that.
I was
What are you
asked.
saying? What are you saying? Are you saying no? Don't say not so.
I'm saying that Google lies. Google lies.
How can you accuse such an organization of this thing? How dare you? I'm out of here. See ya.
All right, here's a question from Trevor Tynes. It's titled Unreachable Status when attempting to fetch a URL in Google Search Console. Trevor said, I'm looking for some guidance. I'm getting an unreachable status while attempting to fetch a URL in Google Search Console. Any ideas on how to fix this? I have a feeling that a number of pages aren't being indexed as a result. Thanks in advance. I prompted him on the group to give us a URL, but he didn't have one.
He could probably try with a tool like Curl. I suppose it's probably not so easy to use for an average person, but just try some tools to see if they can get to it. They can fetch his page and use the Googlebot user agent. See, but I don't know. It's quite likely they're having problems getting his page if that's what he's seeing. Like, they're not going to report the non-truth. So
yeah, I've had this a couple of times in the past, and it's a user agent thing. Normally, if you check it with Web Sniffer or whatever, you'll find that for some reason Googlebot can't get in. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
It depends. Like, I mean, it can be just a user agent, but then you get some clever setups that do actually do a reverse IP lookup to make sure that it actually is Googlebot that's coming in. So if he's using something like CloudFront, he may want to check in CloudFront if they're blocking something.
Tim, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. CloudFront. I mean, they do so many things, don't they? They're the new GoDaddy for blocking Googlebot.
Yeah, they had an issue recently where they were doing a lot of it. They did something weird and wonderful, and they blocked Google from a lot of sites. So this could be that as well. They'll fix it. They're big, they know what they're doing most of the time.
All right. You okay there, Tim? All right. This one from Denny Decker. It's titled, I don't want to have duplicate content. He said, WOP, hello. What does WOP mean? Anyway, things are progressing steadily, and I can see my mindset changing thanks to your feedbacks. Here is my new issue. Let's say I sell shoelaces subtopic, sneakers main topic, boots main topic. Now, boots and sneakers are both shoes, and the shoelaces I sell categorize under both. I write an amazing article about shoelaces and one about sneakers and one about boots. Now, I want people who search for boots, shoelaces, and people who want sneakers, shoelaces. So I prefer /sneakers/shoelaces and /boots/shoelaces. But I don't want to have duplicate content, so somehow I must categorize the shoelaces article under both sneakers and boots. Is there a way to achieve this, which is clear in Google's eyes?
It's all gone quiet, said Rhubarb.
Yeah. The answer's there. I think the accessories idea, accessory subfolder is probably the best way to go.
That's it. I would have said so.
That's the one from Dave Elliott, one of our forum heroes that helps us out through the week. And you too, Richard, you've been doing a bit of heavy lifting lately.
Yeah, answer a few questions here and there.
All right, let me tweet that. And just for clarity, the consensus is that we like Dave Elliott's suggestion. Okay, let's go to the next. Hello, David Rosen.
Hello, Jim. I found my microphone there. It's here somewhere.
God, man. You're looking more like me every week.
Oh, I am you. Or are you me?
I think I may be you. If you're a figment of my imagination, I'm screwed.
Brian Michael asks, how important are keywords in the H1 tag?
Shall I put myself on the line here and say that they're pretty important? they're probably more important in standing copy than in blog posts, perhaps. If one believes that blog posts are not to be over optimized. Yes, I think keywords are important in the H1, and more to the point, the right keywords. So they should be very relevant to what your customers are looking for. You should be delivering the content that your customers are looking for. You should probably have an idea of how competitive those key phrases are as well, keywords as you call them. So yes, I think that they should be there. Other people will say otherwise. It's all moved on, and we should be just talking about whatever we like, and it doesn't really matter what other people are looking for. But anyway, I'll move over and let someone tell that story.
And I'll take over from me there. I would say, yeah, I would totally agree. Keywords are important, but don't overcook it. Don't turn around and use various SEO consultation. Don't pick something and stick with it and keep it sort of reasonably natural in your H1, because your H1 is meant to be a coherent title. So don't just load it down with keywords. I mean, one I came across, it's a couple of years now, but it's one of the most comical ones I've ever encountered, is where somebody had physically enclosed his entire blog post in H1 and was expecting that, to absolutely rock for him because the whole thing was in there,
I think Google just wouldn't have any problem with it. I think as well, like whether you use H1 or span font size equals 28 px, I think Google will see it just the same. That's just me. Yeah. That's my theory.
No, it's certainly not 2008 anymore, is it?
No, it isn't. Okay, so Brian Michael, there's your answer, and let's go to the next. This one from Dragomir Victor. Does anybody know a good tool to find synonyms and latent semantic indexing keywords?
Why is latent semantic indexing still a thing? Thesaurus.com. There you go. Knock yourself out.
In fairness, synonyms are quite useful, but yeah, LSI, no, just ignore. Synonyms, he's on the right track with synonyms.
So SEMrush has brought out, well, it hasn't brought out, it's been out for a while, but they've got a thing called the Magic Keyword Tool, where you put in your base kind of keyword and it splits it down into a range of different uses that it's found. So that's really handy, and then you can click into it, and it it gives you a whole lot of different phrases and uses. So that's pretty cool. The other one, it's not an actual tool that will just blab you out synonyms, but Answer the Public is a pretty cool tool where you can shove in a keyword. Sometimes it doesn't give you anything, but it gives you a range of things around that keyword. So questions people have been asking about it, and a different variety of phrases that that they can find for it. Sometimes you get lucky with some really great stuff, and other times it just gives you nada. But give it a try. It gives you some really good ideas on how to structure if you're trying to be an authority on a particular subject, and it gives you some really cool ideas and info on it.
Thank you, Tim. I have to tell you guys, I bought a thesaurus from Amazon the other day, and all the pages were blank. I have no words to describe how I felt. Doesn't matter. Adam John Humphreys asked the question titled "Ordered List of Services Not Placed Contextually Inside Content." Adam said, "I am generally reluctant to paraphrase sub-services under a header in ordered lists with each keyword service linking directly to the service pages. I feel like the indexer doesn't treat the list like it would page content and only as navigational links. It's a strong signal to what those pages link to by anchor text of those keywords in the ordered list are. However, I feel ordered lists of services not placed contextually inside content on each line means that those keywords are discounted instead of considered on-page content." I hope you guys are following along because I've got no clue now. Does anyone know the answer to this? I have seen branded local search consider it, but patent-wise, I am wondering how Google considers it. I like to link to internal pages where possible to give visitors an opportunity to see what they're looking for easier. But at the cost of content being missed, it's a potential problem. It would be nice to know one way or another once and for all.
I think what he's saying is that the anchor text in his links is not considered as content of the page. It's considered a signal pointing at the page that it's linking to. I think that's what that's what my reading is, that he's worried that he puts these links on his page in a list, in an ordered list, but because it's anchor text, it's not considered to be content relevant to that particular page. That's what I'm guessing.
Well, that's pretty much how I read it, and I think as far as it goes, he's worried that because it's part of an ordered list going to the other services, it's not, the link won't have the same value as if it's part of the sentence "best plumber in Portsmouth." What I mean, and it's treated like a navigational link rather than, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say I know this for sure, but I'm gonna guess that depends where that ordered list is. If that ordered list was in his navigation, I think Google would then treat it as navigation. But if that ordered list was actually in his page, I think they'll actually treat it as content on the page, even though the actual words are anchor text to other pages. So it just depends on where he puts it. I think if he publishes these links within his body content as an ordered list, I think that'd be fine.
I'd see, that's it. That's what I was going to say. The only thing I will say is if that ordered list is basically present on a whole ton of pages in the same place, same format, then it turns into navigation. Yeah, but if it's on one like category page, then it's content.
Thank you, guys. I'm listening to the two of you, Richard and Sash. I now have half a clue what Adam John Humphreys was talking about. Thank you. All right. This one from Jovon John. Does category siloing really help in growing rankings? And does cross-linking have the same effect?
I'd be very interested to hear what Richard has to say about this.
Yeah, I'm curious about why he'd think that cross-linking is the same thing as, like, technically siloing is that you've got a category page that links down to its child pages, but the child pages will link to each other, but they won't link to anything else in another category. Sort of along those lines is how it works. So I'm not quite sure what he means about cross-linking. I mean, I don't know. I think siloing can help, all right, but I don't think it. I think it's probably a little bit old hat now these days. I'm not sure that it's going to give you much benefit. The benefit is probably inherent in the way you interlink pages as opposed to anything else. So, yeah, I would still say siloing can help.
That's it. I mean, as far as the whole cross-linking side of things is concerned, I would say I'm going to go back to the sneakers, boots, and shoelaces. If the shoelaces live in the footwear accessory silo, so to speak, you can then link them to the boots and the sneakers very constructively and very naturally because it's in context. So, you know, cross category, cross silo linking, I think, is what the question pertains to. And so where relevant, absolutely do it. There is a benefit.
Okay, Jovon John, I hope that's what you were looking for. Here's one from Dakota Lujan. What is the difference between white hat and black hat?
Color.
Yeah, there's only one answer to that. It's one word.
So generally, when it comes to that in the industry, you'll just notice it's those that stay within the guidelines of Google and those that don't. That's usually the difference between when people are talking between white hat and black hat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a term that's really loosely used, isn't it? I mean, there's one young fellow that sells his services as white hat, who does many things which, look, I'm not going to get negative anyway. All right, Dakota, that's your answer, mate. And we'll go to number 13 on our run list from Ryan Callum. It's titled SEO for a national company with only one location. Ryan said, okay, so up until this point, I've only performed local SEO for a few businesses in my town. I'm now faced with a national company with only one location. They have no SEO implemented at all and are wanting to go with me. Well done, mate. He said, I couldn't be more excited, but I have no clue as to where to start for their national strategy. Does anyone have any pointers or tips that would be useful for me? Thank you.
This is kind of how long is a piece of string. I mean, we don't know market sector. We don't know whether they're, what are you doing? Are you sending the plumber out to fix my pool pump, or are you shipping me sneakers and shoelaces? This really is too general. I mean, give me some more details and I'll give you some advice, but it's tough to answer, if not impossible, from what we've got here.
Yeah, if they have local presence, that he can treat it just like he would his local clients, just at a national scale. But he hasn't told us so.
So I've got so this is what I'm thinking. So I've got a client that their head office is essentially London. The majority of their things are in London. So and then, but of course, they serve the entire country because they've got bits and pieces all over. So yeah, look, I mean, depends on which way you want to go with it. So the head office is in a particular area. Is that head office the main source of that traffic stroke business stroke income? So for example, in my case, they're in London where 99% of the business is. So, you know, it makes sense to then put a bigger focus on London across the site, as well as their head office and where they serve in London. And then, of course, we do have other pages that deal with other specific cities and things like this. But you need to, but if you're in the reverse, let's say the business's head office for some whatever reason is in some industrial estate in somewhere, but then you know the rest of it, you're not going to want to do it that way. You're going to want to concentrate on the actual service, the product, etc., and have a location page, just as a location page there, where you would dictate that this is the head office and blah 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 blah. So in terms of local SEO, that's not really going to play into a point. they're just going to be the local. But if they are a distributor, for example, they've got a shitty little warehouse, but the rest of the country is fair game, then you need to concentrate on, you know, the actual products and services as a broad UK general wise. So have a look at the business, see which way it's focused, and then you need to come up with a plan depending on which way that's, like, you know, focused.
I think you're spot on there, Tim, because he does say they only have one location. So that means it's just their product or service. They must be delivering from that one location. So, yeah, good luck to them. I think it'll be good experience for them going from local to national.
Yep. Okay. Let's go to the next. And this one from Peter Levin. What are your thoughts about accordion tabs and putting content behind it for conversion purposes or whatever? Google can now read JavaScript. I don't think that's true, is it? So technically, it should not be a problem. It used to be a problem, and I tend to believe still is. What is your test data? In my tests, it seems to still make a negative ranking influence, although nothing is conclusive.
I think it depends on the site. I think some sites, if you're a high authority site, you can get away with a bit more hiding your content behind elements that aren't visible on the screen. That's my view based on some of the sites I've worked with.
Also, you have to keep in mind that if you're being indexed in the mobile side now, then the accordion part doesn't matter anymore, since it's not looking at the desktop. So that's something that one needs to take into account. And in theory, with Google at some point switching over to everything being a mobile-only index, then accordions at some point won't matter.
See, I mean, first of all, I hate accordions almost as much as I hate bagpipes. But now, really, from a conversion point of view, I've not seen much benefit there. I've seen the user experience really kind of deteriorate with accordion use. That can then translate into any number of other avenues from there. But for me, I'd personally shy away unless I really had to, but from the user end, not from the SEO end.
Yeah, I'd go along with that, with what I just said, in fact.
I'm glad I agree with me.
Good. Yes, I'm glad everyone's following this. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that drives me up the wall. It's one of those things that I find myself sitting with designers in meetings saying, when they come up with this, well, let's hide some of these word stuff. Well, no, we shouldn't. This is what we're putting on pages for people to read, not spend their precious brain cells trying to discover what's there. So my thoughts are that it's a UX disaster and it annoys the what's it out of me.
Okay, some mixed views there. Let's go to the next. This one from Eric M Hoover on sending people to the logo. He said, "Hey, all, I'm a bit stumped and also not really sure this is a bad thing per se. But my company's logo keeps showing up in the top 10 pages for organic sessions in Google Analytics. I'm in behavior, behavior, site content, all pages. I don't really know how to explain it, and I'm assuming this is for the image results tab, since it doesn't pop up in the main search engine results page. My question is in two parts. One, is this bad, i.e. taking away from other organic results, or just sending people to the logo, not a good user experience? And two, if so, how can I stop this from happening?
It's just bad data. The image can't be, it's an image file, so it can't travel with the GA tracker. So it's just someone is popping the image URL into his GA beacon somehow or other, and it's not real data.
Thank you, Richard.
I wonder if this is a WordPress site, because WordPress sets up a URL for every image that's uploaded into its media library. There's actually a plugin that stops this happening. I can't remember what it's called. I can never remember what WordPress plugins are called, but had this happening some time ago with a client site, and a load of cruft was finding its way into GA, and someone suggested that the way to do it was to sling this plugin into it. So if it's a WordPress site and you're disturbed by this, have a dig for this plugin, and it will cure it almost certainly.
Thank you, David. All right, let's move on to the next. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I think I pressed 2 at once, did I? Yeah, I did. Let me go back one. Okay, no, I wasn't wrong after all. Such an idiot. Blake Alott asked the question, long, rich semantic content for a construction site. He said, I want to write some long, rich semantic content for a construction site, but every keyword I research has huge brands like HGTV, This Old House, and others dominating the search engine results pages. I know the traditional route would be to write more long-tail content, but what I'm really asking is it worth it to write a huge article with 50+ tips around tips on hiring the right general contractor when I would be competing with HGTV, and my site's domain authority is only 35. Yeah, domain authority 35. We don't really care about numbers like that.
Nah, mate. Nah, you're not going to compete with HGTV in This Old House. Don't bother. Go have a whiskey or something. You know? I mean, this is... Once again, we're shooting totally at Google rather than at what we perceive to be our audience. When was the last time an SEO actually asked what the prospective user wants? And I'm finding it, I don't know, for an industry, for a market sector where things are evolving almost daily, if not weekly. I'm finding SEOs to be a singularly unflexible kind of crowd. So,
present company accepted, of course.
Oh no, this lot's as bad as anyone. I of course am not, but you know. But no, I mean, as far as it goes, it's like, who are you trying to reach with this? You know, are you trying to compete with This Old House? I mean, are you running a TV show, this slightly less Old House? I mean, what are you doing? You know, that's the question, I guess.
Okay. Anybody else?
Featured snippets. That's what I'd go after.
So what was his original question?
Oh, God, it took me about an hour to read it.
Okay, so what is this guy? He's got a construction site and now he wants to understand about content. What's he on about? Yeah.
Who woke
You
Tim
want-
up?
Yeah. He wants to basically write whether or not it's worth writing an article, a massive article, on tips to hire the right general contractor, but he's going to have to compete against HGTV.
Write the article, find out.
Yeah, but even if you're competing, the point here is, right, Blake, the point here, Blake, is even if you're competing against another massive industry, whatever, the point is, you at the same time of working through your site should be, out there, whether it be socially, whether it be on industry sites, whether it be things like this, and people will ultimately see you as kind of, as let's as an authority or someone who's very active in the construction industry or very knowledgeable, and then they'll come across your tips on how to hire the right construction industry kind of guy. Or if you meet someone, whether it be in person or online, and someone's saying, Jesus, there's like, who do I hire? You've got your article, and your article will always be there. Your article always, your tips on how to hire a contractor will always be there, which you can point people to. You can also do it in the respect when you have customers who are umming and ahhing about how, the ones, everybody has them. The one that comes to you and goes, I want to use you, but, this other guy and this other guy and this other guy. Just, when you reply to him, you can do blah, 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 blah. And look, since you're a bit indecisive at the minute, this is what we can offer. I've given you a quote or whatever the case would be. But here is, to help you make up your mind. You can use it in multiple scenarios. So even if you want to compete against a guy, but you say, oh, these other guys' tips on how to compete, it's still useful. It's still good content for your, users that do land on your site, or in the future, building your, knowledge and trust. Very few other companies out there will actually say, well, don't hire someone that does this. And then, so look, it will always give you, it will always be of use to you. Then you need to go and work on other stuff, and I like Richard's stuff, Richard's comment originally, start looking at one box, and the featured snippets. Start looking at Google Search Console. Look for easy wins, quick wins on someone asking, oh, I don't know, how do I insert a rebar sideways? Okay.
Yeah. Somebody.
And there's no rich snippet for that.
Sideways.
With a lot of lube. But okay, so hang on, get back to the point. The point here is, right, is look for opportunities. There may, maybe nobody's hit the one box for that because nobody answered that question. Start hitting one boxes, start small, obviously for low hanging fruit, and then work your way through in the construction stuff. At the same time, even though you're hitting those one boxes, at the same time, you're building all the content. And same again, whilst you're out there online or wherever you may be, and somebody comes up with a question, I've been trying to do this, but I can't figure it out. And you're like, hey, I've got just the article for you. There you go, mate. So it's not that, my competitors are too massive. You need to start looking for low-hanging fruit and then start working through and then progress as you build. And the biggest thing is these big companies, a lot of the time, just work on old school brand awareness. They've never put a proper strategy in place on their site. They just living on reputation where they used to spend, millions in, with lobbying and contracts and whatever, become a household name, but not necessarily for all these different little bits and pieces online. So you'll be surprised when you start digging. You'll be surprised at the opportunities that are out there. So that's it. I'm out.
Right. This comes right back to what I was saying about who you're trying to reach, because it seems to me like most people are still trying to reach Google, and Google is not what you're after here. Like Tim just said, the content will come in handy in any number of scenarios. And also, no man is an island. You need to actually have a strategy as far as your content development is concerned, and whether it be writing or whether it be making videos. And because, again, YouTube and videos is something most SEOs are still completely overlooking in the greater scheme of things. But yeah, it's you need to plan ahead. You know, most of I've got a couple of writers on the books, and most of the time the writing plan is 60 to 90 days in advance, unless there's breaking news that gets in between.
Thank you, guys. Okay, let's go on to number 17 on our run list. This one from Lauren Miller. It's titled "With and Without the Trailing Backslash." Lauren asks, how do I fix the post URL backslash, i.e. abc.com/product and abc.com/product/? Please suggest, and also tell me the SEO effect for this.
You don't have enough trailing slashes. You need at least 3. If you don't have at least 3 trailing slashes, then Google will just completely ignore you. So it needs to be abc.com/product//. No, I'm kidding.
Listen, Lauren,
you have 2.
Just ignore that.
Your son.
Because
do not overslash.
Let's have a vote. Who says Sash should be dumped out?
I'll mute myself.
Where would he go? I can't make a man homeless.
he's not. He's got me.
Downstairs in the kitchen.
Okay, let's try this again. The slashes at the end don't really make much of a difference. Certainly, it makes no difference SEO-wise that I found. I mean, you know.
There's one exception. There is an exception to that. If your page is both resolve on slash and not slash, and you're linking in different ways to both versions, you're going to be splitting up some of your link equity by doing that. So there is a case where if it's resolving on both slash or non-slash, slightly different. So she can use either canonicals, or she can get someone to do it on her server to make sure that the slash is always there or always not there, depending on which one she prefers.
Although Google does prefer a trailing slash.
Says who?
Says their developer docs.
Me.
Yeah, but a trailing slash is a folder. It means that you're going into a folder and you're looking at the index page of the folder. Without the trailing slash means that you're looking at a file called product, which is in the root folder of abc.com.
Yeah.
Reference. It's that they both have a different meaning. Technically, they mean different things. They point at different things. But I don't think there's any preference. I don't think it's going to make any difference whether you use it or you don't use it. I think from an SEO perspective, they couldn't give it a
I think the only time that it would be useful when you're putting a link in for the root, the domain root, because it means that there's not 2 calls for DNS. 2 calls to the server to get to the page.
Believe it or not, there isn't. It's the only one case where not having a slash doesn't make any difference. Believe it or not.
No, I believe you.
The browser should take care of it. Yeah, no, the browser takes care of that. It's in the RFC.
Okay. All right, Lauren, I hope you're satisfied with that. And let's look at this one from Juliana Cronrod. who I noticed has been participating quite a bit in our community on Facebook. Juliana asks, paid landing pages generally use no index. However, if a copy of the home page is used for paid testing on a separate URL, and a winning variation may then be pushed live to replace the current home page, should this be treated almost like a test, and a rel canonical is warranted to the canonical H homepage rather than a no index? Also, to prevent human error when the test version is pushed with no index still there. I see Richard Hearn answered this in the community.
This was a sort of strange question because the issues that it brought up were more around, I think, the problems of if there's human error involved when you migrate a challenger over to be the new homepage. And yeah, I don't know. It seemed like there were a couple other things going on there in the comments. You can see that like it seemed a bit strange to be running a test only on paid traffic, but that wasn't the question, obviously. But it's just an odd sort of question. It points more, as I say, to human issue than it does to anything related to SEO.
Yep.
It wouldn't actually matter whether they canonicalize or no index. At the end of the day, it's probably not going to have too much difference. It's just that canonicalizing when the pages are different, it may be ignored, whereas no index won't be ignored. They won't index it if you have a no index on the page. But canonical is just a hint. The no index is a directive. They won't index it, but the canonical they may just ignore. They may go, well, these pages aren't the same. This is probably an error on your part. We're not going to canonicalize. So,
yep. All right. Right, number 19, the penultimate question from Toka Jenna Leeds. It's titled Microdata for Elements, which probably will never be shown on a search engine results page. He said, should I implement schema.org microdata for elements which probably will never be shown on search engine results pages? Will it still help boost SEO, even if it will not be showing on search engine results pages and will not increase click-through ratio?
Sure, who knows what they're going to support tomorrow?
Yep.
They do have a knowledge graph as well, so we don't know exactly what else they're pulling out of structured data that they may be, like they store everything, so who knows, they may be storing something today that in a year or two's time they figure out a great way to use it. So I don't think it's going to do you any harm, but there's not much overhead in actually implementing this stuff. So
yep, well, if they do figure out a great way to use it, it'll probably be how to cannibalize your page and put it on Google at the top of the result. I often wonder about micro schema and so on, whether we're making we're putting our necks on the chopping block, making it easier for Google to extract data and trivialize the source of the data. Anyway, all right, Toka, I hope that's an answer for you. This one, the name, I don't know who it's from, but any ideas on how to set goals and how to predict metrics? I could really use some help here. The client wants me to predict improvements and set a hypothesis as to which numbers we can expect to improve as a result of SEO changes. Any ideas on how to set goals and how to predict metrics? In Chris Boggs, I think, is showing there as one of the responders. I thought that was a good answer. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a very good answer.
It's about the only way to do it, actually, really, is what he's suggesting there. I mean, who knows what you can implement? Who knows what the impact's going to be? It's very, very difficult to answer these type of questions, but you get a lot at enterprise level. They always want some sort of predictions. They want to try and justify their spend, their resources. So, yeah, it's a pretty good answer there, for sure.
I'll say, but I mean, Eamon Johns below there has a point as well, you know, about there not being a substitute for experience, because if you're new at this, you've really got no clue what you can expect. If you've been around the block a handful of times, then you can usually put together a fair set of predictions with half a chance of them being reasonably accurate.
Yeah, I mean, you can use things like keywords in your current ranking and then predict what will happen if you increase the ranking by so many points based on the keywords and the search traffic that goes through. That's another way to do it. But I mean, even when you're experienced, you know, I had a client, like I wanted to make a big change, quite a big change to their website. I knew it would have an impact, and they kept saying to me, well, what? And I said, well, look, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't increase your traffic like by 10%. And it ended up increasing the organic traffic by 40%. But it's very, very difficult to put your head in the line and say, well, it's going to go up by 20 or 30%, because if you're proven to be wrong, it's not great. I mean, it's always better to under-promise and over-deliver. So, you know, it's a tricky one. You got to balance it a little bit. Like, people put you on the spot, and it can be very difficult to come up with some sort of predictions. Yeah, but like I say, there are ways to do it. I think you've also got to decide, does it warrant putting a lot of effort into actually making these predictions? So, like, unless they're paying for your time for you to put in maybe 20 or 40 hours doing some sort of analysis on what the possible uptick is, then yeah, you got to decide what's the best way to do this. And then you could just be a blagger. I know plenty of SEOs are just blaggers, so
most of them,
they just blag their way.
I mean, there's this guy up in Corby that keeps making these outrageous claims, you know. Nope, he didn't bite.
Yeah, mate, I've been looking for that bastard forever. One day I'll find that bastard.
Okay, I've got a feeling when I click this button, it'll be that time again. Yes, it is. It's thank you for watching time. The people that are still watching us, thank you. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and we thank you for your participation. We'll be back next week to do this all again, but for now, it's good night